lives. Cannabis takes us all the way through. Our endocannabinoid system starts with our birth and then goes all the way to the end. And I talked to Machulam. He's working now a lot about bone density, about how it could help with osteoarthritis and things like that. So that's why it's there, end of our life. Those are kind of things that we run into at the end of our lives.
Wow, he's done so much research. I actually went to a speech that he gave in London last October. He appeared virtually because he was in Israel still, the pandemic. But I went there with my father, who, before he retired, was an osteopathic doctor. So he was incredibly interested in what has been discovered by cannabinoid research in the past few decades. And my dad only retired in like 2015. CBD and THC was first isolated by Meshulam in the 60s, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So it's been like decades that we have known that these things have existed, but it's just the political landscape that really holds us back from exploring what kind of health and wellness benefits cannabis can really offer us.
Right. I definitely think that once the endocannabinoid system is really something that's taught like in nursing and in the medical field, it's going to open up a lot of change. And cannabis, I think, has the potential to heal us from so many things and help us along our journeys for life. I think that, yeah, I'm hopeful that as more research is able to happen, as more of these prohibitions drop, that we're able to study the plant the way we should, because I know that within it are so many different ways to help our bodies.
That we haven't even tapped into yet. So it's kind of very exciting.
Yeah, there's unknown cannabinoids, there's unknown terpenes, there's different elements of the plant that they're just discovering now. There's different flavonoids or something that I've gone into in the past. And now they're talking about something like there's sulfurs that might have something to do with the smells and tastes as well. So there's all kinds of different chemical elements with this beautiful flower that we're just really now unpacking.
I can't believe that it's been, humans integrating with cannabis for, you said, more than 10,000 years. And now, in the last 5 years, we're like, I wonder what's in this plant. It's taken so long. It's so time to be educated, properly educated about what we know already and what more there is to know. The experts that you talk to, essentially, they have to come from the underground culture, right? Because these are the folks that back in the 60s and 70s were growing it in closets and just sort of risking themselves to develop these new cultivars. How did you find the discussions with them? Were they quite open with how they used to do things?
Yeah, I mean, because you're running this podcast, people in cannabis want to celebrate cannabis and let you know everything that they have learned from it. I mean, we're all seem to be on a journey together of discovery. People in cannabis have been the most open people to me. There's a chapter about the social smoke, about cannabis consumption lounges, and within it is Dennis Peron, and he's like the father of medical marijuana in 1996 here in California. He really pushed for medical cannabis and opened a lounge where people could come. They were suffering from the effects of the AIDS crisis, and they got community and they got medicine there, and it was free. And Dennis, he had a house in San Francisco called the Castro Castle, and I had been there before, but like if you're a friend of Dennis, you just show up and you say, I'm a friend of Dennis, and you go into this fabulous, he had a miniature Golden Gate Bridge in the backyard, and there's plants growing, weed paraphernalia everywhere. It just looks so fun and beautiful, right? I'm not even announced. I show up on 215 because I was like, it's 215 and Prop 215. I'm gonna go to Dennis's house. I tried to call him. I didn't get it. I show up. I'm like, do you know what day it is? He's like, the day after Valentine's. And I said, no, it's 215. And then he was like, oh, he's so excited that I was there. He gave me the whole tour, told me his whole life story. We walked around, we smoked a joint. He pointed out that he had this poster in the backyard of a hotel he opened in LA that was a smoking consumption hotel that he actually got off the ground like at the end, which I was like, that's a piece of him that I didn't really know that much about. And yeah, he was just so you could just show up at the Castro Castle and hear the story of medical marijuana in California from the person who started it all. And I also have an incredibly close relationship with Ed Rosenthal. Like I said, I worked on his past books, but we were also neighbors. I was working at a cannabis magazine, and I just one morning I was like, I just really feel like smoking with Ed, so I showed up at his house, and It was like, seriously, it was like 10 a.m. and he was just like, come in, we're puffing, like.
This is what I love about the cannabis community. Yeah, you can come over, have a smoke.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was super fun.
I definitely got a vacation over there next time I'm in California. I have got to make my way up to San Francisco. I want that tour.
Yeah, seriously, you could do. I mean, the Castro Castle, John, his husband is still there, and he's like, "I'll see you next time, Ellen." So like, it would be available to go there. And Ed's house, he's very welcoming as well. He always has people over, and I just love seeing Ed and seeing all of his experiments that he's doing at his house. And he's never done with the plant. He's always trying to learn something else. He's always trying to discover, like, does it need more water? Should I use this soil, or how much light? Things like that.
That's sort of something else you were diving into. It's just how constant this is, especially with indoor growers, that they take these seeds, they pop these seeds, they grow them, these tiny little ones, and then not this one, not this one, this is the one. They check whether it's like a new phenotype. I want to breed that more, so I cross it with this. It's constant. And it's like almost like growing living art. I feel like they develop these new pieces for people to enjoy. What really fascinated me was the part where you said, like, ChemDog has kept alive. ChemDog is a person, by the way, and not just a strain, but he's kept alive the mother plant for 30 years underground. How in the world do they do these things? But without these folks, we wouldn't have the lineages that we now smoke. We wouldn't be able to enjoy, all of the different cross strains that we can go to the dispensary and pick now. So these are like the fact that they're still alive. These are the grandparents we need to pick their brains.
The crazy thing too is, like, the seeds will keep for so long. Like, if you keep the seeds in the right condition, you can have seeds from, oh, I just popped these seeds from the 80s. Like, what? Like, you can still do that. So, like, seeds from Amsterdam and things like that. Ed has a huge collection of different seeds that he's threatening to, like, open up. And it's just like, wow, that could be so fun. It's like the throwback strains, like all the ones from the past that are still there. The fun thing about working with Ed too is you realize that, and you said before, that in Europe, there's so many seed companies that are still producing different types. And growing from seed is a lot more challenging than growing from clone, but it does make it accessible to a lot more people. And yeah, it's just really fun.
And the other thing that I thought was really interesting that you were looking at was the outdoor grows in NorCal, specifically in what is called the Emerald Triangle, which is Trinity, Mendocino, and Humboldt counties up in Northern California. And it's like this perfect place to grow outdoor weed, the sun-drenched buds and the beautiful soil. And it's really well irrigated. And the folks up there just really care for their plants. And this has been going on underground for decades. But now some of these people are able to make legal companies out of what they've been doing for decades anyway. And the one that really caught my eye, well, there were two in your book, discussing how the moon plays a cycle in the growth of cannabis outdoors as well. What was that story like to delve into?
Oh my gosh, that was so fun. I went to Moongazer Farms, which is an all outdoor organic farm, and spent some time with them there. We got to cut down a plant, and I fed the leaves to the goats, and I just spent all afternoon. I was there with one of the photographers who's featured in the book. His name is Chris Romaine. His Candid Kush is his Instagram handle, and he does those like spinning bud shots where he takes one of the big colas and like hangs it up on a string, and it spins around, and he takes like 100 different shots of it turning so that you can zoom in and zoom out and like see the whole element of the plant. So he was out there doing that. And then like he'd cut down the cola and was taking the pictures of it in this area over here. And he's also got the drone going over the grow. I'm just down on the ground smelling the buds and hanging out. And it just was amazing. The other farm that's in there is Moon Maid Farms. Tina Gordon. She's just an incredible female cultivator who just really seems like she's in it for the right reasons, and she's growing amazing cannabis. So I think that for me, there is a choice in cannabis. You can choose indoor or outdoor. Of course, the indoor is going to have a lot more bag appeal. It's going to look really fancy. It's also probably cost a little bit more. But the outdoor is just like the best expression of what cannabis could be. It's just the plant like living its fullest, best little life out there. I just love to see the outdoor grows and go and explore these outdoor grows in California. It's just amazing. And also the people behind them are just, they have the passion and they're doing it for the right reasons, like I said.
Truly. And it's just the most beautiful shots in the book. Like I was saying, it's almost like scrolling through an Instagram account of the most beautiful cannabis photographers that you can find. This book is like the photographs are just breathtaking. And that makes a big impact to me when I'm reading it while I'm high. I love that.
Thanks. I have to give another shout out. One of the main photographers is Christian Angelo, and her Instagram is a pot farmer's daughter. And she has traveled all over the place taking photos of these amazing outdoor grows. So I was like super excited to partner with her. She takes like just the most lovely, lovely shots. I really like the ones where she's showing the plant in interaction with other plants, like with the marigolds or like different flowers. It's nice to see it not as like a monocrop. It's nice to see it with other things and, hanging out in the garden.
Yeah. And there were a couple of ones that you talked about where they grow that cannabis alongside vegetables. And it's just another plant on the farm.
Yeah, I love that. I like to normalize cannabis coverage I always try to put like a baby in my book. Priceland has a Priceland Farms, the one that does the vegetables and then also the cannabis. There's some very cute baby photos in there as well.
Oh my gosh. I know the one you mean. He looks so joyful. Yes, so true.
A little baby, little pets, maybe. There's some cute animals in there as well.
Love a goat every now and again.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you.
I've honestly learned so much from reading through your book. I think I've become a more conscious consumer, so I think I'm going to be more aware of how to choose my cannabis when I go to the dispensary and what it is that I'm looking for. And also just I really love to learn about the history and the culture and where you see cannabis going in the future. So thank you so much for sending me this book. It's absolutely gorgeous. I would absolutely recommend it. I've already got 3 people that I want to get it for. I would recommend it as a gift. Get it for yourself.
Thank you. And your questions have just been so thoughtful. Thank you so much, for paying attention to what's in it and going over it. I really appreciate it. You write a book and you think, nah, no one's going to read this, but it's getting out there in the world and it's really exciting to see it in other people's hands and to see their interpretation of what I've said and have conversations like this. It's just so exciting. Really appreciate you.
Absolutely. I loved it. Thank you so much, Ellen. Thank you for joining us to discuss it as well.
Yay!
Thanks again to our wonderful guest, author Ellen Holland. Be sure to check out her stunning new book, Weed, A Connoisseur's Guide to Cannabis, out now. And while you're perusing those books, make sure to make your way over to the magazine section of your local Barnes & Noble or Whole Foods to find the latest issue of Different Leaf, the magazine. Make sure you tune in next week for a really interesting conversation with Lauren Yoshiko of the Broccoli Report and Broccoli Magazine.
At that point, I was a local weed columnist for an alt weekly in Portland, Oregon. I had been invited to host a few local weed events, but it was still very much like Portland, Oregon weed scene. And Broccoli just immediately had a much larger footprint. It was like getting featured in Vogue when it launched. And that was something that I also contributed to as a writer.
Make sure you're following us on social media at Different Leaf and at Different_Leaf. And I'm on social media at Brit the British.